Welcome to Vote and Voice, where we talk about politics, society, and culture. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between morals versus ethics. Let's start with the definition. Morals are your personal beliefs about what is right and wrong, which can be shaped by culture, religion, upbringing, or your personal beliefs. And you have ethics, which are systematic rules or principles that can guide behavior. So it's more like collectivist, often in professional or societal contexts. So the key difference is that morals are internal and personal, while ethics are external and often codified. Could be like laws or professional code. Morals can vary widely, but ethics aim for consistency and universe. So, like an example of what morals would be like is I personally believe lying is wrong. Ethics would be like in journalism, you must not misrepresent facts regardless of personal beliefs. So, yes, this can lead to conflicts such as personal moral belief versus professional ethical obligations. The applications we use it in could be politics, where leaders may face ethical obligations that clash with personal morals. And you have business, which companies have code of ethics, but employees' morals can influence decisions. And then you have daily life, which could be like choices like whistleblowing or honesty in tough situations. Now, let's talk about the foundations of morals. 6 moral foundations. You have care and harm, which is usually to focus on the compassion and attachment systems and support the most vulnerable around the world. And then you have fairness or cheating. So, yes, care and harm is the first one, or fairness and cheating is another one where, yes, opposites. This is related to reciprocity, justice, and rights. And you have liberty and oppression, which relates to the desire for autonomy and resistance to coercion. And you have loyalty and betrayal, which is related to forming coalitions and patriotism. And you have authority versus respect, which relates to hierarchical social interactions and tradition. And the last one is sancticity or degradation, shaped by the psychology of disgust, which views the body as a temple. So the key aspects of the theory are the intuition over reason, which are like moral judgments that often immediate and intuitive reasoning usually acts to justify these initial feelings. And then you have cultural variation. While these foundations are considered universal, different cultures and political groups, whether it's liberals versus conservatives, can weigh them differently. An evolutionary basis is the foundations that are believed to have evolved to solve specific and social and survival challenges. So then next you have the foundations of ethics, which is going to be way more different. And these are the core principles that guide human behavior toward the common good, justice, and fairness, often anchored in values like integrity, respect, and compassion. So key pillars typically include autonomy, beneficence, which is doing good, and non-maleficence, do no harm, and then justice, which collectively form a framework for moral decision making. So then you have the cultural and individual values are like integrity, honest, respect, and responsibility act as a foundational in organizational culture. So some core components are like rationality, which is ethics providing a foundation for rational, universally applicable regulation, humanity, and then next you have humanity, which is based on human nature, behavior, and social interaction. And then the virtue, which is the focus on moral character and doing no harm. So the approaches to ethical foundations are metaethics, which examines the fundamental nature of ethics, including moral, metaphysics, and epistemology. And you have normative ethics, which explores the principles between right and good action. So as you can tell, it's more collectivist. It's more collective. for ethics. What about the gray areas of ethics and morals? This could be like situational, under pressure, where actions might be acceptable in one context but wrong in another, such as lying to protect a life. And we have competing values, which are situations where, for example, a morally gray character steals to feed their family, blurring the lines between villainy and heroism. Judgment calls. These scenarios demand that individuals use personal judgment to navigate, as standard rules fail to provide a clear answer. And then cultural subjective context. What is considered gray can change based on social, cultural, or personal examples. I think there's other parts where there's like gray areas, and we can already see it, such as, profit over people, like in capitalism, or the impact on the environment for AI data centers, or lying, like greenwashing, advertising, or the environmental impact. While pollution is generally wrong, decisions regarding the acceptable levels, for instance, agricultural runoff, can be debated. And then there are certain parts of like ethics that we can navigate towards the ambiguity, like transparency, which is to clearly justify a chosen path when no obvious ethical answer exists. And you have the consultation, which seeks the advice and second options to mitigate personal fallible judgment. And you have empathy, which considers the perspectives and impacts on all stakeholders involved. And you have hedging, which develops strategies to handle the uncertainty rather than ignoring it. And uncertainty really plays a big role on how we make decisions. And I think sometimes we might do unethical things, maybe because we do it for fear or self-interest or for money or for survival. But the biggest thing we do is just for that sense of hope that we can just survive. So yes, we talked about the gray areas, but now let's talk about the procedures, like patient autonomy versus professional ethical codes. For example, like with vaccines, like any vaccines, like can the government force you to get a vaccine for, let's say, the flu, for example? And people argue that, you know, personal autonomy and institutions can clash together with this, and this is where these are areas where ethics really get polarized and debatable. Like, some people side, some people argue against personal autonomy because it's like it's for safety and nobody should have a human to human disease just because they didn't get vaccinated, for an example. And then those are then there's the counter arguments, and those that say like, hey, it respects their rights. And this is, another part of ethics we get polarized with. We could talk about immigration, abortion, impact on tariffs, economy. This is where, liberals, conservatives, communists, socialists, environmentalists, feminists, anarchists, you name it. And yes, there's definitely certain things they can all agree on, like the impact on the people, but still what we have to understand surrounding like these debates like on immigration and abortion is like, especially with abortion, you have people that are pro-abortion and you have anti-abortion. Like there's been protests over both sides around the world surrounding abortion and anti-abortion. And the pro-abortion say that, it plays a big role in women's rights. And there's the anti-abortion activists who say that it is morally wrong to kill an infant. The point about this topic is like we may not have one answer to certain societal topics and debates we have. And then same with immigration. Like some people say, you know, some people support immigration just because it's a sense of hope for those people who've lived through devastating wars or corruption in their countries for a better place. Refugee, and then and you have those, and then you have the opposition to immigration, which are those who believe that whether it's illegal immigrants or are affecting the economy or affecting the population density of a country, like overpopulation. So that's where we kind of get where we can feel divided in a way. So I want to bring up the fact that yes, we have like the psychological part is that it can lead to cognitive dissonance. So yeah, when morals and ethics conflict, morals across cultures and religions can vary, and ethics in international law and diplomacy can also vary as well, because some cultures may not have the same or social norms in society the way others do. One big question to ask you to the audience is, have you ever done something ethical but felt morally wrong? And which guides your decisions more, morals or ethics? And when I say ethics, I mean what society tells you from institutions, not just one person telling you something is good or bad. So the key takeaway from this is it helps us understand both is critical in civil life and how to navigate conflicts between morals and ethics, and to encourage to think critically rather than follow blindly sometimes. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you.